So, hi, welcome everybody. This is our live at 7. I'm Monica Andresen, and I'm the author of Uncomfortable Truth by Monica. I'm new to some of you, so thank you all for joining. I'm an investigative journalist and writer by training, and on the corporate golden handcuffs for over 20 years, mostly in corporate recruiting and also pharmaceuticals. So had quite the taste of the corporate life, and I've recently kind of found myself back to writing. Not necessarily by choice, but I've been laid off from that for over 2 years, and have really found myself through that process. And so I'm bringing you all my daily articles and trying to change the world positively, one policy at a time. So tonight we're going to talk about our current party system, going to really define it, who's benefiting from it, who owns it, and who's deciding, who's making the decisions right now. And in reality, in this capitalistic market that we live in, how capitalistic is it and who is it working for at this point? So I've brought on Nicholas J. Orcutt. He's of the Fractured Line. I know many of you are familiar with his work as well. He's topped the charts on bestseller and U.S. Rising Politics. Very knowledgeable. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll get started. So he's just a couple of days ago had written an article really in regards to socialism, and has a lot of really good life experience and ideas when it comes to this topic. So Nicholas, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. I am Nicholas J. Orcutt. I write The Fractured Line. Thank you for having me here today. As Monica said, I had been doing this for 6-7 months politically. I'm a paramedic in my day job. I don't recommend it for anybody. And when I'm not being a paramedic and I'm not obsessively hunting down things and writing, I'm a father and a husband. I don't recommend doing either of those two unless you are lucky enough, like I am, to have a wife who is willing to deal with your absolute insanity. But that's who I am.
Great. And then in the live chat, if you all can just tell me a little bit where you're from. I see Delray Beach. I see Illinois. I know I've got a couple of Kansas here. So just so I have an idea, I think it helps with the conversation. So Nicholas, I'll turn it over to you. So when you think of our current party system and you think of how capitalism and socialism and now all of this communism talk over the last few days that's really been ignited, what are your thoughts? Like what initially comes to mind to you? Like what do you want as an end game out of all of this?
Well, I mean, ironically, like for me, the end game would be just abolition of the two-party system that we have now, because capitalism doesn't exist anymore. I think it's fair to say. There's a lot of fear about with the democratic socialist movement going across with Zohran Mamdani, formerly Grant Platner. But there's a large fear of people when they hear socialists, the Democratic Socialist Party, that they instantly assume we're talking about the Soviet Union or Cuba. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. That's like saying that talking about capitalism, we're talking about North Korea. They don't match. It's not the same thing. And so that's where I've personally been fighting. And that's my number one goal, is to bring account to power, right? So it's these powerful people in positions right now who are making sure that there's no change. They like it the way it is. And they use things like the legacy media. They like to use propaganda. They're big into the internet memes and all those farms. So instead of us having an actual capitalistic society, which we were supposed to, we have an oligarchy. We're ruled by the rich. We all work for the rich. The difference is with democratic socialism, and this is where I think people get really confused, because they hear it and they say, "Oh, that's not the American system. That's not what Americans are supposed to have." FDR, who I think we'd all agree, one of the greatest American presidents of all time, pulled us out of the Great Depression, got us through World War II. He is essentially the founding father of democratic socialism for America. He wrote the new Economic Bill of Rights, and he wrote it in 1944 and died a few months after he wrote it. And the idea was it was free housing, it was right to employment, right to a livable wage, right for no monopolies. The idea was it was to hold account to power businesses and corporations. Most of Europe has actually adopted it. They've adopted his exact Bill of Rights, his Economic Bill of Rights. We haven't. And we haven't for the simple fact that there has been a multi-million, billion-dollar at this point campaign against what he wanted.
Into the trillions. I mean, argue into the trillions campaign, because I think sometimes we focus on Trumpism as a country so much, and the last 10 years, but in all reality, you've got to go back. I mean, at least to the Reagan years, where the seeds were being planted, and then there's just a further divide since then.
Even before the Reagan years, if you look, I mean, Watergate and Nixon, that was
the Watergate and Nixon
corporate money.
Yeah,
that was about corporate money and politics, and that was where it started coming to a head. And the problem is nobody cared. So Ford gave a pardon to Nixon instead of holding him to account, and that led to Ronald Reagan's rise. And Ronald Reagan, thank God, he's dead.
Well, back in the 70s, the 60s, it was capitalism was really working. But when you looked at CEOs of even large companies then, they made 4 to 5 times what an average employee would make. So an owner CEO was, yes, they were making more. And now when we look at salaries and the disparity between them, your tech CEOs are making 2,000 times an hour what their average employee is making. And then on top of that, many of their employees are compensated at such a low rate that they qualify for government assistance. So they're on childcare. I'm in the boat, so I can speak to it personally. Childcare, food assistance, Medicaid, medical assistance as well. Because when you have an employer that pays you such a low wage that you are below poverty lines, you've got to get the assistance from somewhere. And so that plays into corporate welfare as well. And I can tell you, I get a lot of backlash as a personal recipient of welfare. And when I bring up the corporate welfare, it seems to just be something I think that we've been so propagandized to believe in. And I mean, I was there 10 years ago. I was a total corporate Fox News Republican. I had the corporate handcuffs on, and I was their perfect audience member. I voted for Trump in 2016, and that makes me want to just puke today. I was upset with Obama at the time, and I'll tell you a quick story why, because I think a lot of people can relate to this when we talk about healthcare and the ACA and all of the misinformation around that. Because I was so absorbed in the Fox News corporate media diet, I was having seizures and some major medical issues around that time. And I had wonderful insurance before the ACA went to place, wonderful insurance through my employer. It was 100% paid. I didn't have deductibles, and most of my medical care was covered. After that went into place, the next enrollment period, our benefits completely changed. And what happened in reality was corporations took advantage of being able to spend less on employee benefits. They blamed it on Obamacare. Of course, back then, I had totally different lenses on. I didn't see it that way. But that's where the roots of a lot of the misconceptions about health subsidies and the ACA, and even moving towards universal health care, there's so much misinformation and misconceptions that are so deeply embedded in people. It's really hard to get people to see, the truth and see the facts and agree on the set of facts that we're looking at. I mean, that's a huge problem right now.
So do you want to know a simple fact that can shut down any of those arguments? How much do you think we spend in taxes on SNAP benefits federally? Like, take a wild guess.
I've looked up federally how much we spend on SNAP benefits. I think it was around, I thought it was around the 100 billion.
102 billion.
115, 120.
102.
102, okay.
In corporate tax breaks, we spend $264 billion. So who's really the welfare recipient?
Well, Trump alone and his bankruptcies
Mhm.
and the tax, all of the different tax information and undervaluing his properties and the bankruptcies, it cost an estimated between 160 and 180 million dollars just for his individual losses.
Oh yeah, and it's funny
And that's
too.
just one person. I just know that fact to pull out of the top of my head, but that's just one.
It's funny about the talking about the Obamacare ACA. Actually, I wrote about it a little bit today. I got into it with I did an article on Graham Platner and everything going on there, and I know I have a close personal friend who served with Platner, who was roommates with Platner. Like I have a personal connection to the man, so it's been really hard for me to sit back and watch this because I know who he is as a character. I know his character. He's the same Marine who got out, had a very hard time once he got out. And then once he got himself cleaned, he would go pick up other Marines who were struggling and personally drive them to rehab. Like this is the guy I know. So it's hard for me to see what's going on. But I watch the way everything's going right now. And Graham, before all of this came out, had said when he was in the primary, Schumer had talked to him, called him personally, and threatened him. He said, "Get out." Said, "You do not belong here. This is not for you. Get out." And Platner essentially told him, "I'm going to find you and fight you," which is one of the best things I've ever had him say. Um, he threatened to fight Schumer and Fetterman, but he,
I would love to see Schumer get his teeth knocked out. I'm sorry, I didn't just say that on camera. Yeah, I did.
especially by
Yeah, on the AIPAC money right there. The Democrats, well, the misconception, I'm not either. I won't interrupt your story, but yeah, I would love to see a Chuck Schumer get his ass kicked.
well, especially by a vet from Fallujah. But he the big thing is, Schumer wants to keep it the way it is because if you look at the last time the Democrats were in control of everything, it was during Obama's term. That's when they had everything. And Obama went to pass Obamacare and they refused to do it. Instead of it being a Medicare, single payer system like it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
they caved to a minority of Republicans to make insurance companies richer. And that was the entire purpose, is just for them to make insurance companies richer.
And it
So,
was 7 of them, and it's still the same 7.
yeah,
That's the 7 largest. You can look them up. You can Google them. Yes,
yeah.
but it was the 7. And yes, you're correct. That the Republicans ended up putting that in. So it it ended up being, yeah, a nice package to the 7 insurance companies.
Oh, absolutely. And there's been almost no bigger gift to a corporate level donor or sponsor since then. And it runs back into the concept of the two party system that we don't have. We have two people who claim to be of two parties, and then you know, we have the Republicans like Mike Johnson who have no values whatsoever. They sell all their values to the highest bidder, right? And then we have Democrats like Chuck Schumer who are just a Republican in a blue tie.
Mm. Yeah,
It's not
taking the same money and more of it in his case. But yes,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so it's this whole trying to keep down anybody promoting any different type of government. They are all in and they are spending money continuously on it. I've been one of the things that I was looking into was the fact that AIPAC spent more money supporting Susan Collins than they have spent in almost any other election. That is insane.
Considering she sounds like she's going to die, yeah, it is insane. She doesn't sound like she's fully alive when she speaks.
She's not Mitch McConnell level yet, but she's getting there. She will be there.
I mean, and it is on both sides. I get so tired of the whole Biden thing. Yes, Sleepy Joe, whatever. He wasn't all with it. Our current president at NATO this week has been an absolute nightmare. He, I don't know if it's the dementia though. I don't know that he has above a 5th grade understanding of world politics. But
I
that's another
I,
topic.
I appreciated him multiple times calling Zelensky Putin. Out of all of the names to call him, it would be like if Zelensky called Trump Obama. And I kind of wish he did start just calling him Obama.
I'm just waiting for the bedside confessions about his children because it's going to be brutal.
Oof.
Anyway, not to give airtime to that, but yeah.
But no, I think that is, we have a system that's set up to make sure that people like me, people like you, regular people don't become politicians. They've set a bar where we are not allowed in. They don't want us in that system. They are afraid of us in that system. And I could tell you, as somebody who knows the character of Platner, and this is not saying, again, I was very clear. I'm not discrediting the woman who accused him. That is a landmine I don't want to walk on. But what I will say is somebody like him terrifies the establishment
Yeah.
because he doesn't play that game. They do the same thing with Zohran. He doesn't play that game with them.
I was just going to say, bring up Zoran. In fact, I have a local example real fast. So I kind of dabbled in our county's Democratic group. Again, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but moving to this small town, not knowing anybody and trying to figure out what in the hell's going on, I had to try to fit in somewhere. And it is not open arms. And my dad told me when I went there the first time that a Kansas Democrat is a Republican anywhere else, and I should have listened. But he went to one of the meetings for me. I couldn't go. So I said, there's a speaker, just go. You'll meet some people. And so what's this speaker? She was a Republican until January 6th, and then she's running for a Democrat position in Kansas. So it was like my dad's head was about to like levitate off of his shoulders. He's a Bernie Sanders guy, if that gives you an idea. So he brings up Mamdani. This is at a Democrat meeting, county meeting, mind you. And it was like, crickets. He might as well been inside of a mega church and professed to Jesus Christ himself that, he was a lover of Mamdani. So anyways, that meeting didn't go well. I haven't heard from anybody in the Democratic Party really in that group since, which is fine. I'm not either one. I will tell you where I am having some interesting conversations here locally, and that's with MAGA triple Trumpers that are sick of the shit. And I'm having some conversations with people that I mean, in the last couple of weeks, literally in the last 2 weeks, that have blown my mind. It's been like, never saw that one coming. So, if your perception of me is that I'm some kind of like Democratic establishment lover, and I'm speaking to the audience. I know Nicholas knows me better than that. That is definitely not the case. I just relate more to people that are, more for universal human rights and things like that than corporate welfare and pedophilia. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Not big into pedophiles.
So something I was thinking, and I'm writing this book in regards to really just a radically different path forward. And it addresses socialism, and it really talks about a little bit about our two-party system, but we've talked about that. We all know where we are. I think the Democrats have an 18% approval rating, and that's something about like that, and that's across the board right now. And the Republicans not much better, with Trump and his craziness. So it really just looks for radically different paths forward through policy. Policy is the only thing that is going to create change. I mean, that is the difference between a well-running government and country and one that's a total shit show like we are right now. I mean, that's where the foundation. And so something that I thought about actually today, and I came up with the term that I'm going to try to coin, and that's ring-fenced capitalism. And I use the word capitalism in it because if I try to couple with socialism, just different kind of thoughts, and socialism turns so many people off that you've lost the battle before you even like open your mouth any further. And how I'm defining that is basics are not for sale. Our basics are not for sale. Healthcare, housing, education, livable income are guaranteed. We need to look at universal basic income. So UBI with these technology companies, we need to tax billionaires. Yes, I said it. We need to tax billionaires. We need to tax them big. We should have never had a personal billionaire until we had UBI in place. So yeah, I did just say that. They need to be taxed out of existence. If 999 million isn't enough for you to live on, then go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just say that. If there's any little ears around, I will try to keep it clean the rest of the time. But markets and profit exist in this, but only outside of that fence. So I'm talking about these basic needs survive inside of the 3-ring fence. Everything else is outside. it's regulated. It's never allowed to decide whether you live or die. You want to gamble, that's fine, but you're not going to gamble with the basic needs. And it's just structured, really, our Constitution, we the people, for the people.
Yeah.
It's really the same concept, but actually in not just in theory. But we also have a lot of campaign reform and everything else because we can't just have all of this corporate money. And I've got ideas on that too, some that I talk about a little bit in my book, such as government run elections, meaning that every candidate at each different level gets the same amount of funding to run their campaign. So, that would look like you paying, say, $1 or $5, whatever it is, a year in your taxes. That goes towards your portion of the campaign pool to run our campaigns. And each candidate at different levels, depending on the races, are allocated different amounts of funds to run their campaigns. I mean, I think just reforming, again, I know they sound radically different policies, but they would also lead to radically different results that we need. And I think that the way we have to deconstruct it, I just don't know how to get people there. Like, how do we get to the point where we say, okay, we can just say, screw the current system. We can just just give way to the donkeys and the elephants in the room and go to a different system. I think that it needs to be built on a foundation. I think of building a home, and really government should be more run like a home than it is a business. That's the purpose of it. But I think of socialism as being your basic foundation, and we have a lot of that already. And it's not scary. It's libraries. It's
Libraries, fire departments. You have
parks.
yeah.
We have lots of it.
Do you want to know the answer to get there? It's a simple answer. New York City. People have to see that change can happen outside of the system that they know. The biggest part of that, though, is because Zohran has done wonderful things in New York City. Absolutely wonderful. I'm upstate New York, so I'm 4 hours outside of New York City. I can tell you, as a New Yorker, getting New Yorkers to be the way they are with Zohran doesn't happen. That does not happen. Giuliani was there in 2011, and we were ready to hang him out to dry. We hate it. Zohran does no room for us because he knows, because he hasn't lied to people. He's been honest. He's been faithful with what he said. And he promised that has to be seen. And the legacy media is the one that are making sure that it's not seen ever. They're doing their best to make sure that nobody knows the truth.
And I agree with you. I think he's spot on. I mean, I can't think of anything that I've heard Zohran say that I haven't agreed with. Nothing comes to mind, and he is consistent because he's real. So you don't quote unquote catch him in an interview. Every time I hear him interviewed, he sounds exactly the same as the time before. I mean, he's consistent. That's just who he is. And it's just finding those people, finding more of just those genuinely good people that are there for the right purpose. But it's a lot of we've got to take away any of the insider trading. We've got to just take away all of the financial benefits. It's getting people to that place. And then it's also, the infighting that we're seeing now on both the Republican and the Democrat side, because you've got the progressives, so you've got the Zorans, and then you've got the establishment Democrats, and then you've got the Republicans that are split right now. Some of them are saying, like, Trump's obviously not our path forward, and they're looking for somebody else to latch onto. Tucker Carlson's made a huge, he's made a lot of headway. Nick Fuentes, he sounds pretty reasonable in some sound bites, and people that don't pay attention and don't know, they hear him in a 30-second sound bite, and that can be dangerous. Marjorie Taylor Greene, same thing. She's kind of rebranded, and I do feel like she has seen the light, and there has been some, she's done some atonement, and I do feel like she's evolved as a person and a politician, but she still isn't for universal human rights. She still is not for LGBTQ. And I feel like it's time that somehow Americans get the message that all rights are connected. It is universal human rights, and it's termed universal for a reason, because if any one group has their rights in jeopardy, everybody is at risk.
Absolutely.
And that's how it all happens. Like, we look at it like it's been a real easy target, all of this the trans sports, trans this, trans that. LGBTQ, that's an easy target. There's not as many of them. There's not as many people that will fight. But then we're not seeing women's rights. We don't know what's going to happen with this SAVAC. I've been writing about it a lot. I'm very concerned.
Yes, it's a very slippery slope. I do want to take one quick moment, though. Somebody in your chat said public works are not socialistic. So I'm going to address that because I'm going to guess that the person that said that is either probably a libertarian by nature. So public works are socialism. That is the definition. Yes, they are currently run at a state level. They are the fundamental key building blocks to socialism. That is why they are social projects. I had to make sure that was stated clearly because I saw that.
And why do you think it's so hard to get people to come around to the fact that government run and social programs can be beneficial, that they can be run well, that they can take care of people, do their intended purpose?
That's the propaganda side, right? So we have been told over and over again, time and time again, that government wastes money. That whenever you say we're going to have Ronald Reagan's famous quote, nothing's scarier than somebody saying, I'm here with the government. That is a misconception. Governments don't waste money. Our government doesn't waste money. Most of the overhead for Medicare, Medicaid, all of the government services are spent appropriately. Where the money gets wasted and where the government spending goes to die is when it goes out to the corporate side. So when our defense contractors get money from the government, it's gone. It's wasteful. We don't have any control over it. There's no oversight. That's where the government waste comes from. They've done a very good job manipulating it. So instead of saying, hey, we have agencies that run their funding perfectly, like USAID, which was amazing for this country, they said it was wasteful government spending because they paid a receptionist. That's not how wasteful spending works. But what it did was it built into people this mindset that they're out to get me. They want to stop me. They just want my money. They don't care about me. They want my money. And they flipped it because that's what it is. They don't care about you. They want your money. They're just going to give it to somebody who's richer than you.
One of your articles that I found to be really interesting was one where you talked about how ambulance services are billed. And I had no understanding of that because I would have never thought dialing 911, the time that my 2-year-old busted his head open, that I wasn't in good hands necessarily. So go ahead. I think that that's something that's really important for people to understand.
Well, so it's hard when we talk about ambulance billing and ambulance services. It's a hard topic because there's no federal standard, which is absolutely ridiculous to think about. That you are calling 911 and it is dependent only on your state. There is no federal standard at all. In fact, all EMS as a whole, all paramedics, all EMTs, they're not even under the Department of Public Safety or the Department of Health. They are under the Department of Transportation. They are yeah, they are under the same people that fix the roads. And I could tell you from experience, I've been a medic now for too long. I could tell you from experience, when shit hits the fan and the police need somebody and the police call for help, they're calling me. When the fire department calls for help, they're calling me, the guy who apparently works for the highway department. It doesn't track, but because of it, when it comes to billing insurances and private insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, ambulances can only bill if they transport you. They could do like a wellness visit and things like that. But an actual ambulance transport only gets billed if they transport you. So that means that calling 911, having a medic, and like myself, I went to school for 2 years being a medic. I went to school for 2 years. I did another year of internships. I interned in the OR. I interned in the ER. I interned under surgeons, under anesthesiologists, under cardiologists. It's a massive amount of work. And so I show up. I I can I can evaluate your heart. I can check your vitals, evaluate your heart. I can put a breathing tube down your throat. I can do an EKG. I can shock your heart. I can give you more drugs than you would believe. I can't bill you for that unless I bring you to the hospital. And even then, I can only bill you on a set standard rate. And so it's like a basic life support, BLS, ALS 1, and ALS 2. And then we can bill per mileage. But it is the most ridiculous backwards way to do it. And like a lot of states, like New York State, a lot of the New England states, because we have significant volunteer fire departments, the volunteer fire departments can't run ambulances because a volunteer fire department by law can't bill. And so your tax monies are going to the fire departments. They're going to the police departments. They don't go to the ambulance. Most of us don't get taxes. In New York State, I worked during COVID. I worked there all of COVID. It sucked. It was a nightmare scenario. We are not essential workers. We are not called essential workers. We do not fall under essential workers. It never happened. Like that is the most wild part of it, right? So we don't get tax money. Sometimes the counties, local counties and local governments might give taxes to an ambulance service. But because of that, there's no set standard. So you can call 911 and they can say, okay, the closest ambulance is an hour and a half away. That happens. That's insane.
So quick story about the 2-year-old. So my twins, it was on their second birthday. It was during COVID. So it was February 28th, 2021. And we were having a Zoom birthday party and one of them was running around. Anyways, he fell and cracked his head open on this wood panel. And the back of his head was bleeding and head injuries. Now I understand bleed and they look much worse. It looked like he was dying in the living room. So we called the ambulance. It was right down the street. My dad lived in a little rural Colorado town and the nearest hospital is 30 minutes away. Ambulance comes, they look at it. The lady's like, oh, don't worry. I've got 4 boys. They're in the emergency room all the time. She's like, this is going to need 3 staples. Get them up to the ER and you're good to go. I said, whoa, you're not taking him with you? Like, you're not going to take him in the ambulance up to the hospital? Like, his head is bleeding. He's going to die by the time we get up to the hospital. And of course, I was overreacting as a mother, but I was shocked that, like, that just surprised me. I guess I didn't understand how ambulance worked at all. As a mother, I was in such shock. I had to have my dad drive because I couldn't drive this kid. I was in the back seat with him, and then his twin brother was there, and we were it was a nightmare. But in any regard, yeah, it has been so eye-opening and it's so scary to understand how it really works. It's very scary. Like that's like end of life, like life or death kind of stuff. Like we worry about the most trivial stuff, but that is terrifying.
And there's absolutely no reason, there's no incentive for the government to change it because most of it's been privatized. So there's a giant company called GMR. They're actually a subsidiary of BlackRock. They own everything. They're one of those companies that just buys up everything. And they bought AMR. AMR bought up Rural Metro. So there are 2 huge ones. There's GMR and the other one is, it's going to bother me. It'll come to me. But these private ambulances, it's a multi-billion-dollar operation for them. Huge money. And because we're not essential workers, they pay us shit. So I am more qualified to do things. So I can work completely independently. If somebody's having let's just say somebody has difficulty breathing, just generic difficulty breathing, you can't breathe. I can show up to your house. I can treat you. I can intubate you. I can give you nitro. I can give so many meds. I have just meds. I can put you on BiPAP. I can put you on CPAP. I can put you on a vent, start IVs on you, all this stuff. I don't have to call one time or ask a doctor for orders. I am completely autonomous. I work completely by myself. And in fact, when I go to the hospital, I tell them what I did. I don't say, oh, I tell them, this is what I did. This is what you're going to continue doing. This is how you're going to keep fixing this. We make less than most hospital janitors. And it's why.
And then just the mental strain that comes along and the mental and emotional strain that comes along with your industry? I mean, I would imagine that the answer is very little, but what kind of resources are offered to people in your profession for mental health services?
We have we specialize in dark humor and alcoholism.
I, hey,
That's
I've used both, so
yeah.
yep, I get it.
I don't drink. I quit drinking a long time ago, but there is no mental health issues. So we do what's somewhat called we're supposed to have critical stress incident management. But the truth is, what happens is if so, I had a call, and I'll go on a little bit of a story down here. So excuse me. I had a call for a 40s female. Said she gave birth, but was only 20 some weeks pregnant. And we get there, we get to the house, and I walk in, and she's on the toilet, and she's holding. It looked like a bundle of just wrappers, and she was 23 weeks pregnant. She'd given birth. She'd had a miscarriage, given birth, and the baby had a pulse. And the baby was attempting to breathe.
Oh my god!
So
Oh,
I take the kid and I clean the kid up, cut the cord, and off we go. I did compressions the entire time. I had, our supervisor, he showed up on the scene. So I needed somebody to bag the baby. And so he's got, the bag over the mouth, and I'm doing compressions the entire time to keep the heart rate to a certain level. And got the kid to the hospital, continued working on him. And the kid was only 23 weeks pregnant, which is under viability for an infant. There's no surfactant in the lungs. That's what gives the lungs the elasticity. So if there's no surfactant, your body's not going to generate it spontaneously. It has to be inside a mother's womb to have that happen. And so the kid had no surfactant, so it wasn't viable. And so the kid ended up dying. And I sat there in my ambulance afterwards thinking my wife at the time was 23 weeks pregnant with a boy. And all I could think of is I just worked my own kid. The answer to that was they sent us back to the station, said, "Are you guys good?" I said, "Sure." Like, okay, cool. We've got one holding. And we went right back out. If you say that you can't handle it, you are called weak. You are told you aren't cut out for it if you can't handle it. There's no you don't get the luxury of saying, I need a moment. You just learn to bury it. That is why, writing like I did yesterday, that is months of burying these things that just finally come to a head. Um, it's a rough field. And, we have our good ones and we have our bad ones. Again, the problem being most of our publicity that we get, and it sounds terrible to say it this way, but like, when you see, person who was saved by fire department thinks fire department, the fire department didn't do shit.
yeah. Except get all the credit.
Yeah. And like it almost takes away all the good we do. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Instead of actually like being like, all right, well, there's a purpose to this, And I'm not saying we need the hero worship, but just, oh hey, thanks, you saved my mom, you saved my son, get up, like it'd be nice. Instead, the fire department gets photo sessions with, the news there, with somebody taking them. And there was literally a giant news story of a guy that they threw out of his burning apartment into a hallway. He was in an apartment building, like large complex apartment building. They threw him into his hallway. He wasn't breathing. I took him, I picked him off the ground, put him on my stretcher, intubated him, and he's alive today because of me. They threw his ass on the hallway. And so it's,
You weren't on the news?
oh no, we weren't even
Just kidding.
we didn't even get any of the chili they make.
Oh, that's brutal. That is brutal.
And like, I'm in Syracuse, New York. There was a cardiac arrest that happened at the Carrier back when it was Carrier Dome, right before an SU game. And it was a friend of mine, the crew that showed up, and they worked the cardiac arrest and they got the guy back right there. Like that doesn't happen often. And they got the guy back. The news did a report. Now, mind you, they are at the Carrier Dome before a game, cameras everywhere. The news did a report saying how much heroes the fire department and police department were, and never once said anything about the ambulance. And so they posted this big news story, and I went on and I made probably a comment I probably shouldn't have made on Facebook. And within 15 minutes, the phone was ringing, and it was our director of operations calling me, asking me to remove the comment because the fire department was upset.
Wow. Ooh.
That is how we are treated.
Let's talk about little petty grievances. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how we are
No,
treated.
not you. And not you. I'm not
Yeah,
talking about you.
yeah, but that is how we are treated. That is if you're curious, that's how our mental health system is.
Oh, I'm not surprised to hear that. I don't want to completely switch gears on you, but I do want to address a comment before I forget. So Richard, so he circled back because he was the one that I think had made the comment in regards to the socialism that you had addressed about the public works in the country, like electricity, water, were being run by private corporations.
So he's thinking he's thinking
Yeah.
utilities, not public works.
Yeah.
And that's a difference. And honestly, I believe that all utilities, electric, gas, water, should be government funded and
I
controlled.
do as well. I don't think anything. I think internet, gas, water, anything that's as survivable, and I do consider all of those survivable. Those are all basic need kind of things for
Absolutely.
everybody. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
but
bottom line.
there should be no profit on maintaining a quality of life for people. That should just be there should be no profit on that.
Yeah,
Like you shouldn't be profiting off of sustaining life, you know?
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. As far as the energy up there, are you seeing anything in New York? I mean, have your prices spiked? Have you guys seen a crunch? Because I haven't personally seen anything in Kansas, but I'm
Ours
curious.
is skyrocketed.
Okay. And when would you say that happened? Like over the last, like what period of time?
So Syracuse in particular, we have a monopoly on our energy. We have one company. It's National Grid. Used to be Niagara Mohawk, and it was right after Trump took office that the prices skyrocketed. And the ironic part is it's not the prices of usage; it's the delivery costs skyrocketed. Which the ironic part is they gave us, they made everybody change to these digital meters now that they can read from wherever that were supposed to lower prices. And now my delivery price is almost 3 times what it was, which is insane.
And I'm hearing that globally. I mean, that's not, I think that's kind of common sense overseas, but I'm hearing that globally. Australia in particular, UK. I mean, those are just a couple of places that I've heard from. I hear consistently from one of my readers in the UK, and she lives in a 600-year-old house. And their last delivery, I believe, was a month delayed of the oh they propane, I think is what it was. But we're in this country, and I wrote an article about it. I don't know, it was a little over a week ago about what the oil prices that we're about to hit, and the Strait of Hormuz fallout that we haven't seen it yet. We've heard about the Strait of Hormuz over and over and over. And then ironically, right before I came on here, I was just catching up on some daily news from some of my different outlets. And I heard reporting on 3 different ones in regards to Cushing, Oklahoma, hitting bottom. It sounds like we've got something like 19 million. This is, again, I haven't verified it, so I'm not going to repeat too many more things that I heard, but reliable sources. But yeah, we've kind of hit bottom in Cushing, which from my research, showed me was going to happen around the 4th. So it tracks. And we're about to be in trouble in some different areas that the average person's not thinking about. I know we hear about fertilizer as another area as well. I also have a very good friend that is in global logistics. He handles basically insurance claims for global shipments. So he tracks them from the place of its origin till they get to their destination here. So he is an expert in the field. And there have been no ships that have gone through. I mean, when we're talking about energy sources, but then also goods and such. Our prices are about to skyrocket. The other thing that's happening is to ensure these loads, because there's so much theft and just so much just corruption and debauchery going on everywhere. Then even to like the commercial licenses being issued in California, that is a real problem. to just mass chaos. It is so expensive to insure all of these loads of everything that's essential to getting to us that a lot of the middle and small insurance companies are going under. So what we're going to have is more and more monopolies on the shipping and transportation. So we're about to see our costs go up, and it made me think of that when you said it wasn't necessarily on the product, but it was more on the delivery of it. We're about to see that in every single thing that you buy at the grocery store. And it's going to be bad. It's taken actually a little bit longer when this all started in February. I mean, I've been tracking all of this very closely. I haven't reported on it as much just because it's, quite frankly, until this last one I wrote about, it's not well received. And so I've just been doing research on my own. But I'm surprised it's taken this long, but we're over the next month about to see some significant things that we in my lifetime, I'm 46, that I haven't seen, that I don't remember. So
I don't think people are prepared for what the costs are going to be. And I'm in the same boat as you. I've reported on this. It's hard. This is a hard topic to follow because it changes so quick.
It's hard to get real information on too, because we are not getting good reporting over here.
We aren't getting good reporting at all. And it's actually sad because some of the best reporting I get on this is from TikTok. And that's been going away too because of, the people that own TikTok now. But we're going to see just the cost of living rise, and people aren't prepared for it because what we don't see here is, yes, the Strait of Hormuz controls oil globally, not for us, globally. They aren't able to sell our reserves to other countries. They can't give away what we have to other countries. So what that means is other countries that we rely on, the UK, Europe, are now going to have to raise prices on everything. And that's going to hurt us, especially when we have an idiot in office who keeps putting arbitrary tariffs on people simply because he forgot how to count. Mm-hmm. We don't win. It's a zero-sum game that we don't win. Yeah. And I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to wake people up from it. The one thing you said earlier that I kind of want to circle back to is when you said that you've been able to talk to MAGA people better than the Democrats. And there's a reason for that. And I genuinely, I believe there's a very good reason for that. And that's because the MAGA people is misled, usually insane as they are. Their overall assessment and complaint isn't wrong, right? They don't like the system we have. Mm-hmm. Promise them something better. The Drain the Swamp promise was a real promise to people. They really believed in it. They wanted that. They didn't realize that he was going to just be the gatekeeper of the swamp. But I think that's why the MAGA people are a lot more receptive to hearing about, oh, this government corruption's all over. I knew it.
You know what I've found? Yeah, absolutely. What's broken down the barriers is talking about what we all want, and we all want the same thing. We want a prosperous environment for our kids to grow up. We want fully funded schools. We want a town that's growing. We want to make a livable wage. We all want the same thing out of life. And I think when we can stop kind of the name calling and the blame game and the but Biden did this, and just have a conversation, those walls break down really easily when you're sitting there having a one-on-one conversation. So I think that, to end this on a positive note, I don't want to leave everybody depressed here, but to end it on a positive note, I would say have more candid conversations. Say things out loud that you're feeling, because what I find too is that usually other people are feeling the same thing. And if it's not well received, then that's not your people anyways. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Keep talking to people.
And it's the sad part is, like you said, with the Democrat Party you were talking to there. If they're not going to listen, then they're not people that need to listen. I always end everything I do with stay loud, stay informed, stay dangerous. And part of that is understanding that you're going to talk to people who aren't going to like what they hear. As long as you are loud enough that it gets through somehow, you're doing good.
Yeah. And I think stay informed and have an open mind. Like be okay with evolving. Don't let your ego get involved so much, because I was stuck in that for such a long time that it's like, well, I already identified as this, and everybody's going to think that I'm not true to myself or that I don't stand on principle. And nobody likes to be called somebody that doesn't stand on principle or that has shitty moral values. Like nobody likes to hear that about themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's important too, is to be okay, like be okay saying I've evolved as a person and atone for it and move
Well,
on. Most people will allow you that space. You're harder on yourself than most people are going to be on you.
well, it's kind of like the article I did where I opened it with about Forrest Gump, where all of us know it. Life is like a box of chocolates. But that's not the line. It changes the perception of the entire thing. Life
Yeah,
was like a box of chocolates, not is, was. Or mirror, mirror on the wall. And that's not the line. It's magic mirror on the wall. And it's okay to have misconceptions and have a false memory about things. It's also okay to go, wow, I was wrong. It's not okay to go, yeah, I don't believe that. That's that's the one where you have to stop and go, no. It's okay to evolve.
yeah.
It's
Awesome. I think I'm just making sure that we got to all of everybody's questions or comments. I don't want to forget anybody. But I also don't want to take the rest of everybody's evening. But I want to thank everybody and thank you, Nicholas, for joining me. I hope everybody got a lot out of this. I know I did. And I always enjoy reading your work. And I appreciate your support of mine. You've been one of my number one supporters kind of from the beginning. We found each other, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you for that. For everybody here, my book, Flirting with the Judge, is going to be coming out, and I'm dropping the prologue on Sunday night at 8 o'clock Central. So that'll be available for paid subscribers only. This is going to be the first thing that I'm putting behind a paywall. Right now, I've got my subscriptions at $5 a month. They'll go up to 6 after Sunday night. But thank you, everybody, for your support of me, paid or free. I just appreciate everybody sharing. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the arguments even. I appreciate just the engagement. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So everybody have a great night.